sure my mic is on. Hope everybody's having a good day. Whatever day it happens to be, whatever your situation happens to be right now, we're going to, let me get my comment up here. You can shout yourselves out in the comments section as we get prepared here to get started, to get into what we're going to get into. Let's see. Appreciate that. Marius, I appreciate it. I didn't get a chance to prove it yet, but I'll take it. What's going on? Brandon over on Facebook. I got Facebook going over here on my right, to my right, and I have Instagram directly in front of me. Shout yourselves out in the comments section. We're going to get started in a moment. Hope everybody's having a good day. Tell me your name and location. We'll get into it. I'm not going to take that long with the intros. I found people just come in as they come in, and then we'll get to what we need to get to. Today we're going to talk about the outreach game. You don't know what that is, it's all right, because I'm going to explain it to you. Then we go in. All right, so for those of you who don't know me, my name is Dre Baldwin. I'm a former 9-year pro athlete. I'm the author of K-On, checking in from, is that Georgia? Shout out to Georgia. I'm a former 9-year pro athlete. I'm the author of 31 books, including, let me see if I can show you one of my books so you know I'm not lying. This is my book, Work on Your Game, using the pro athlete mindset to dominate your game in business, sports, and life. I got my own subtitle. This book, Work on Your Game. My latest book is this book right here called The Third Day, The Decision that Separates the Pros from the Amateurs. So I've written 31 of these books on different subjects, lining them on mental toughness, discipline, personal initiative, those kind of personal and professional development topics that will help you be successful in life. And I created this whole brand and framework called Work on Your Game. It's all about taking the tools to help you succeed in sports and using them at work and in everyday life. And today we're going to talk about the outreach game, because this is something that I've been talking to Damien from Chicago. Was good. This is something that I've been talking to entrepreneurs about for years, as a matter of fact. This is not a brand new thing for me. It might be new to you to hear me talking about it, but this is something I've been talking about for a long time with a lot of entrepreneurs. There's a lot of things that many people who want to get into the business world or the professional space of anything, you don't even have to be an entrepreneur. You could be an athlete trying to make a team. You could be someone in the workforce just trying to get a job. You could be a person who's in maybe the influencer space and you just want to get more people to know that you exist. And one of the biggest challenges for a lot of people these days, and this actually not these days, is a challenge these days, but it was a challenge back in the day, it's going to be a challenge in the future for a lot of people, is that many of you have the bad habit of sitting around and hoping that the attention finds you, rather than being proactive in making the attention happen. That's what we're talking about here today. That's what I'm talking about when I say the outreach game. So when I talk about outreach, what I'm talking about is you taking control of the marketing and the promotion and the selling of yourself and your goods and services in every way, shape, and form, so that people actually know that you and your stuff exist. Because if you don't let them know that it exists, most of the time they're not going to know about it. And I'm going to do a whole podcast episode on this in the future. So today I just want to talk about it. I'm going to give an overview of this, what it means to step up your outreach game, because if whatever it is that you do professionally, whatever you do for a living right now, if you want more people to know who you are, you want more people to follow you and like you, you want more people to buy your stuff, you want more people interested in whatever it is that you're offering, you have to take control of getting their attention. You should not be sitting around expecting them to notice you just because you made a post, or just because you did a live stream, or just because you posted a reel on TikTok, or you posted something on IG, or you did a status update on Facebook. You have to take control of getting the right people. First of all, getting people to notice you. Then the next level is getting the right people to notice you. And then the next level after that, once you have their attention, now, of course, if you're doing business, you want them to create an exchange, or you want to create an exchange where they want to give you something in exchange for you giving them something in addition to attention, i.e. money. So let's get into it. 3 things I want to talk about here today, and I'll go over all 3, then I'll recap. And if there's questions, you can post your question at any time while I'm talking. I'll address them all at the end. So 3 things. Number 1, activity. this is the first rule of outreach is activity. You have to be active. You got to be out there. You got to be in the game, outside and active. I posted a reel on IG the other day. I think it cross posted to Facebook, but I'm not sure that it did. I got to find out when I get off here. I'm going to go on Facebook and find out how I can cross post stuff, reels to Instagram, because they showed me one time that I could do it, but it didn't come up every time. But anyway, the activity is simple. You got to be outside. Outside does not mean, I don't mean literally outside where the sun is out. Outside means you have to know where the activity is taking place in your particular industry, and then you have to position yourself amongst that activity. You got to be in the mix of where that activity is happening. So if there's a certain event in your industry where everybody who is somebody, they all go to that event every year, and you want to be involved in that industry, it now becomes your responsibility to make sure that you get a ticket and you show up at that event. Why? Because everybody who's making things happen in that industry are at that event, which means if you want to be one of the people who's making things happen, you got to meet them where they're at. You got to go over there and get yourself seen, heard, and known in that space. So for example, when I got out of college, I wanted to play professional basketball. I came from a D3 school. Nobody was recruiting me. I didn't have a whole bunch of teams or agents beating down my door trying to sign me to a contract. There was no bidding war for my services, but I wanted to be in the pro basketball world. So by deductive reasoning, I asked myself, okay, where are the people who are making it happen in pro basketball? Where do they go? Where do they gather? Where do they connect with each other? And one thing that you will know that is true in any industry, no matter what you do, there is a gathering spot that everybody goes to, quote unquote, everybody in that space. There are gathering spots in every industry. I don't care what you do for a living. If you're an esthetician, there's an industry for that. If you're in the tech world, there's an industry, there's a gathering spot for that. Not just an event, but there's a gathering spot for that. If you're a basketball player, there's a gathering spot for basketball players. If you're an entrepreneur, there are gathering spots, and usually there are more than one. Your job is to find out where are the gathering spots for the people in the space in which you want to be known, and then how do I get myself in that room? Usually it's pretty simple. Usually all you got to do is buy a ticket. Usually that's all you have to do. Buy a ticket, go to the event. Sometimes it can be online, and online is fine, but in person is better. And I'll tell you why. In person is better because you want to look people face to face. You want to shake their hands. We can all agree, I think, that you build a stronger and deeper connection with another human being when you look them in the face in person and shake their hand than if you're following them on Facebook or you send them a DM on Instagram. It's cool. You can communicate with people on IG and actually meet people and all that stuff, but the real connections happen in person still. I know the internet has become the internet, and some of y'all are on this all day and you don't even talk to people in real life, but being outside and actually, I'm talking about literally outside and actually shaking people's hands still builds deeper connections than doing stuff on the internet. That's why if you follow my story on Facebook, you look at my Facebook story, my Instagram story, y'all see where I'm at. Unless I'm recording or doing some, not even, usually if I'm either recording or I'm doing an interview or I'm on some kind of Zoom call, like a coaching call or something like that. If I'm not doing one of those three things, or sleeping or eating, I'm usually outside. Literally outside, like not in the house, outside where other human beings can see me, know me, have conversations with me, shake my hand. I'm outside. I'm active where people can actually see me. That matters. What's going on, Nori? You got to be outside and active because, again, that personal connection still does matter. So this is the rule of activity. If your phone's not ringing, you got to start ringing people's phones. This is a mindset issue, folks. This is not, I'm not saying this so much as a strategic, like, all right, you got to actually go outside of your house and walk around the block because you might get lucky. What I mean here is it's a mindset of, if nothing is happening, if I don't have any activity happening in my space right now, at least for me personally, I have to go out and I have to do something to get some activity going. This is a mentality that you have to take with you in everything that you do, because if you're not doing this actively, what's going to happen is your whole pipeline is going to dry up. You don't have anything going on for you, and what are you going to do? How are you going to keep your business going? You can't sell something to somebody if nobody even knows that you exist. So what are you doing to make sure that people know that you exist? That's the most important thing, is you got to be active where things are taking place. Point number 2, we are talking about the outreach mentality. Yes, your phone's not ringing, you got to go ring some phones. If nobody's knocking on your door, you got to go knock on some people's doors. Second thing is positioning. What does positioning mean? Positioning is not just having your thing, whatever your thing happens to be, your product, your service, your topic, whoever you want to be out in the influencer space. It is, how are you talking about yourself so that the people who might be interested know that you have what they need. That's what positioning is. Positioning is just, how are you talking about this thing? To give you an example, my book right here, The Mirror of Motivation, Self-Guide to Self-Discipline. Y'all probably have seen my advertisements. You can get your free copy of this book by going to mirrorofmotivation.com. The way that I talk about this book now is different from how I talked about it when it first came out. And the reason why I changed how I was talking about the book is because when I first put it out, it wasn't getting the kind of response that I wanted it to get. Not from people who were reading it, but from people who were looking at it and maybe thinking about reading it. Because understand, people do judge books by their cover. Literally, we judge books by their cover, and we judge them by how the author talks about the book. See, if you never read this book, whether you get the book or not has nothing to do with the quality of the material inside the book. You see all the writing in the book, you have no idea what's in this book because you haven't read it yet. The only way you're going to take the action necessary to get this book is if I tell you something that's compelling enough to make you want to go read it, which means the way that I talk about the book determines whether or not you go get it, whether you go buy it, whether you take a free copy, just pay the shipping. I have to talk about it in such a way that will move you to action. So the way that I talk about this book right now, what this book is all about is changing how you see yourself in the mirror so that you will become the person that you need to become. And then you go do the things that you need to do. So then you can have the things that you want to have. That's what this book is all about. So anybody watching this, if you want to change the way that you see yourself in the mirror and you want to allow that to change your actions and allow that to change your results in life, then you need to go to mirrorofmotivation.com and claim your free copy of this book. That's how I talk about this book now. And when I first put this book out, I wasn't talking about it in that way. I don't want to put a comment here so all y'all can see the link to go get your copy of The Mirror of Motivation. I wasn't talking about it that way when the book first came out, but when I changed how I was talking about it, the way that people responded to the book changed, and I sold more books. I got more people to read this book. I actually just ordered a bunch of more copies of this book. You can see them if you're watching me on Facebook. Y'all can see all those books right there behind me, and y'all can see them too. Instagram, there's a bunch of books behind me. The whole point is, positioning is how you talk about yourself, how you talk about your stuff. What do you want people to perceive you and your things as? Understanding that people will not know how good your stuff is until they actually get in the room, until they get into it. And usually to get into it, they have to take some kind of action. And understand, human beings for the most part are lazy. We are all lazy. Nobody wants to buy your product. Nobody wants to sign up for your list or get into your free challenge or subscribe to your thing. Nobody cares about your stuff nearly as much as you care about your stuff. So if you want other people to care about your stuff, you must learn how to talk about it in such a way that it is compelling for them to go and take an action. If you never figure that out, you will struggle to make sales. You will struggle to get people into your world. You will struggle to get people to convert. How are you talking about your stuff? This matters a whole lot. How you position your thing. And this is why any of you who have a product or service or offer right now and is not selling, is not turning over the way that you want it to, it's not a matter of necessarily, sometimes this is the case, but sometimes it's not. It's not a matter of necessarily you need to throw away the product and come up with a whole new idea. Sometimes you have a product that can be good enough. The only challenge is the way that you're talking about it or the people that you're talking to about it is just not the right match. You don't have the right market product match. When you get the match right, meaning the way that you talk about it, what you're offering, and who you're offering it to, when you get that match right, and you got to be the right person with the right background and credibility to actually be selling it. When you get those right, that's when things start working. And sometimes you just got to change one of them. Sometimes you change two. Sometimes you change three. Sometimes you change all four. That's when things start working. So this is why that positioning matters a whole lot. To give you an example, this guy named Russell Brunson who does ClickFunnels, he talked about when they first put that software out for it, and if you don't know what it is, it doesn't matter. When they first put their software out, it didn't land at first. It was Russell tried like 5 different ways of talking about the software, and there was a few people trickling in, but it wasn't coming in the way that he wanted it to. They weren't really getting, it didn't really hit the tipping point to get the way that he wanted to. It wasn't until he came up with like the 5th or 6th or 7th way of talking about it, the way that he sold it, that finally it really started to hit and people started to get it. And that's when that product started to sell, and that's when it really started to take off. And now he's become a person who, in the marketing world, in the sales and marketing world, he's a guy that has a space where people go and gather. If you want to meet people who are somebody, he has an event that people go to. All you gotta do is get a ticket. You can go to the event. So This is you figuring out what is your positioning. How are you talking about yourself and your thing such that people know that there's value there and they want it. Number 3, we're talking about outreach game. 3 things you need to know about outreach. Number 3 is new blood. This is the rule of new blood, meaning you must be consistently bringing new people, new eyeballs, and new blood into your space, into your pipeline, and into your business. Even if your business is popping off right now, you just made a sales pitch to some audience, and you just made all these sales, and you got all these customers coming in, you got all these orders to fulfill, and you got more money coming to you than you can even fit in your pockets. Do not stop marketing. Do not stop selling. Do not stop bringing new people into your world. You must continuously bring people into your world, because the last thing that you want is to get to the point where there is no activity happening in your business and you don't have any ways of bringing new people in. So you always want to be bringing new people into your world. You always want to be marketing something, always be selling, always be doing something so that new people know about you. All right, it's cool. The people you already have, yes, serve them, give them the game, give them value, make sure you keep giving them good stuff, but never, ever, ever stop looking to bring new people into your world, because outreach that we're talking about here today, this is an ongoing, continuous thing. This is not a one-time thing. You don't do outreach one time. You don't run an ad for a week and get 50 new leads or 25 new sales and then say, all right, I'm good. I did that. I don't have to do that anymore. No, this is something that you do forever. Outreach is like brushing your teeth or taking a shower. Or eating food. This is something that you will be doing forever in your life. You never stop doing outreach as long as you are in business. You're always doing something to look for that next opportunity. When I was playing ball overseas, I would always, even in the middle of the season, sometimes on teams that I was playing for, I'd be thinking about, all right, who am I going to play for next season? Because this contract's over at the end of this season. I'd be talking to my agent, or maybe looking for a new agent, or making sure I'm gathering my game film and just thinking, all right, how am I going to leverage where I'm at right now so I can get to where I'm going to be in the next opportunity? Because if I waited until the end of the season to finally start looking for that next opportunity, there might not be a next opportunity. Or by the time I got one, a whole lot of time got wasted in time period where I could have been playing and getting paid. I didn't have it because I didn't spend enough time marketing. So always be marketing. The job of marketing is an ongoing thing. It never ends. Marketing is a lifetime job. I talked about that in episode number 1897 of my podcast, which is called Work on Your Game. So if y'all didn't know I had a podcast, it's called Work on Your Game. Look it up, Apple, Spotify, SoundCloud. We are at almost 1 million listens this year. So probably by, I'll say within the next, where are we at? Probably in the next 4 or 5 weeks. I think by the end of June, we'll probably have hit 1 million downloads for the year 2022. Last year we did 1.1 million. This year we're aiming at 2 million this year. So we're on pace for it. So we'll see if we end up getting there, but we are on pace for almost 1 million by the end of next month. But anyway, these 3 points that I just gave you, your outreach game. Anybody got a question, post in the comment section. Outreach game, 3 things. Number 1, rule of activity. Always stay active, always be doing outreach. If nobody's calling your phone, you got to start calling phones. Nobody's knocking on your door, you got to start knocking on doors. If no one's paying attention, you got to make them pay attention. Number 2, positioning. How are you talking about yourself and yourself in such a way that the people who need it understand that they need it, that there is actual value? If they're not getting it, but you think they should get it, they don't need to change. You need to change. You need to change the way that you're talking about it so that you're speaking the language of the person who is going to buy from you. You have to make sure you're saying the word that will move them to action. If they're not moving to action, you have not found the right pitch yet. You need to keep repositioning until you find that right way of talking about your thing so that people buy into it. And this is, human beings do this all the time. I mean, you can't fundamentally change exactly what it is that you are as a person, or what you can change what you're offering. You can't change what you are as a person, but you may have different people paying attention to you today than you had paying attention to you 5 years ago. Why is that? Because your positioning is different. The way that you show up is different now than it was 5 years ago, or maybe it isn't. And number 3, new blood. Always be bringing new blood into your world. Do not just sit and hope that new people come into your world. You must be consistently doing things to get new people to know about you, like you, trust you, hear about you, pay attention to you. Never sit around and just think that you're good just because you made a bunch of sales yesterday or you got a bunch of leads to come in 2 days ago. This marketing thing is an ongoing job, is a lifetime job. It never ends. So let me address questions. On Facebook, question was, why I played basketball anymore? I stopped playing basketball in 2015. So Alvin, you asking this question, I don't know where you've been for the last 7 years, but it's been a while since I played basketball. So yeah, you got to catch up. Read my book, Work on Your Game. I talked about it. Marius over on Instagram, appreciate you. Kayvon, Damien, Nori Vass, no four walls for you. No office walls, okay. Shout out to people with no office walls. Cash said, everyone sounds like they got it all figured out. Yeah, some people do. Sound like it, and some people actually do. Nori says, what gave you your drive? Did you read my book, Working Your Game, Nori? It's in that book, I talk about it. That's that book right there, Work on Your Game. You should read that book. If you go to mirrormotivation.com, on the second page in that funnel, we're going to offer you to work with the mental game super duper bundle, which includes Work on Your Game, the Work on Your Game system, no, not system manual, 30 days of discipline, system manual up there, bulletproof mindset, and the mental workbook. So read my book, Work on Your Game, where I talk about that in detail. Question is, how do you position yourself in an industry that you are new to? Well, you have to ask yourself a couple of questions. Keep same two questions every professional has asked themselves. What are you offering and who is it for? So when you step into a new place, Keith, if you are an entrepreneur, what are you offering and who is it for? Who are you serving? How are you serving them? What are you helping people out with? When you can answer those questions, then you can take the next step. So we have to be strategic about it, and all that, everything I'm saying here. Your question is a good one. This is why I have a mastermind. My bulletproof mastermind is at workonyourgameuniversity.com. Facebook, y'all see it in the pinned comment. Instagram, you see it in the pinned comment. That mastermind is where I coach entrepreneurs and professionals on how do we build that, basically a roadmap in reverse. You figure out where you want to be, and then we figure out how do we deconstruct from where you want to be, how do we work our way back to where you are now, and we actually make a plan for you to get there. We're going to make sure that you're being held accountable, make sure that your process is working every step along the way, because sometimes you have to make adjustments, and then you go out and execute. All of this built on the foundation of mindset, because you have to have the right mentality. I talk to a lot of entrepreneurs who might have great ideas and they're willing to work hard. The problem is their ideas, and not their ideas, but their mindset around how things work is they're simply operating off of inaccurate formulas. So you could be a really hard worker and believe in yourself, but if your formulas are off, you're going to fail no matter how hard you work. That's why in my mastermind, we focus on these 4 things: mindset, strategy, accountability, execution. I just sent out an email about this earlier this week. If you want to get into my mastermind, you want to work with me directly, you want me to coach you, if I sound like I know what I'm talking about here, which I do, go to workonyourgameuniversity.com and you can get coached by me. You can work with me one-on-one or in groups. Those are the only ways to work with me directly, is at workonyourgameuniversity.com. But you can text me. Let me put my text number in here. Any of you want to get my daily motivation text and be able to actually text me directly, because I do respond to text. Text me at that number, 305-384-6894. Let me post it in the comment section over here too on Facebook. If you have a question, post it in the comment section right now, addressing questions. We were just talking about your outreach mentality. If you want to text me, that's the number, 305-384-6894. Question is, Nori says, are your books in public libraries for the youth? Well, the youth can get my book on the internet the same way an adult can get my book. Am I in public libraries? My books are in some libraries, but the library has to buy the book from me so that it can be in the library. But I give my book away for free. All you gotta do is cover the shipping. So anybody who is listening to this right now, that means you have an Android or an iPhone, probably 99% of you. All right, that phone costs, that's $1,000 phone. So if you got that and you're paying a bill every month, you can pay $9.95 for shipping and get my book straight to your doorstep. You don't need to go to the library. Youth has nothing to do with it. Youth got phones too. If your parents paying the bill, all right, they can pay for a book. All right, they can pay for a phone, they can pay for a book. Why not? All right, anybody else got a question? I'll wait like 30 seconds to see if somebody else has a question. And I'm going to be talking about this. I'm going to go more in depth on this subject in my mastermind, talking about this, but also in my on my Work on Your Game podcast, which comes out every single day, believe it or not. We got over 2,200 episodes. Topics: discipline, confidence, mental toughness, personal initiative. We talk business, we talk social issues, we talk personal development, professional development. That show comes out every day. And again, we're at over 900,000 listens so far this year. Let me see if I can find out where exactly we are. This week we had 35,000. We do about 5,000. I think it's about 5,000 downloads a day. this week, that is. But let me see where we are so far for the year. So far this year, Work on Your Game Masterclass, 920,029 plays this year. 920,000. We over 200,000 this month. We did 250 last month, so we might catch up. We got about a week. What's today? There we go, less than a week. See if we can catch up. So that's the place if you want to get the best in-depth teaching that you can get from me without having to do anything but just listen, is my Work on Your Game Masterclass. If you want to work with me directly and have me work specifically on your specific challenge with you, that is in my university, workonyourgameuniversity.com, my masterminds, one-on-one, and group programs. All right, we wrapping this one up, everybody. Y'all have a great afternoon. We out here. Dre all day.